everybody, welcome to my homestead and welcome to my channel. In this video I want to talk about the concept of the fig tree generation. This is something that comes from other Christian denominations. It's like a theory that they use to kind of try and tell when the second coming is going to happen. And I want to talk about if any of that applies to us, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Do we have any part of that? Do we accept that interpretation? So if you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe, like this video. If you end up liking it, hit the notification bell, and make sure to share this video with any of your friends that believe that as a theory or are aware of this. I think that this might bring some clarity and some insight into that. So for those of you who don't know, this theory is based on this scripture in Matthew 24. Okay, I'm just going to read it. Now, learn a parable of the fig tree. Now, remember that Matthew 24, this is like a huge second coming chapter in the New Testament. Now, learn a parable of the fig tree. When his branch is yet tender and putteth forth leaves, ye know that summer is nigh, or the second coming, in other words. So likewise ye, when ye shall see all these things, know that it is near, even at the doors. Verily I say unto you, this generation shall not pass till all these things be fulfilled. So therefore, the generation of the fig tree is going to see the second coming. Okay, this is the basis of the theory. Now, they've determined that a generation is 70 years, and that's based on this over here. This is on medium.com. Psalms 90 is believed to be a prayer of Moses. The psalm contrasts God's eternity with man's frailty. So based on Psalms 90:10, we know the generation in the Bible is a generation in the Bible is 70 years. If we know the length of a generation, we can determine the time period of Jesus' return. Israel became a nation on May 14th, 1948. Now, the idea here is that the fig tree represents the Jewish nation of Israel, the modern day state of Israel. Okay, so Israel became a nation on May 14th, 1948. This is the year Israel became a nation. A generation in the Bible is 70 years as defined in Psalms 90:10. If we take the year Israel became a nation, 1948, and add 70 years, we get 2018. This represents the end of the 70-year generation. Will his return happen within the 70-year generational span? Question mark. Well, this is an article from 2015, so it didn't happen within that time frame. But, if this theory is true, there's still hope, because when you go to Psalm 90, verse 10, it says, the days of our years are 70 years and 10. So 70. And if by reason of strength they be 80 years, which is 80 years. Yet is their strength, labor, and sorrow, for it is soon cut off, and we fly away. So, according to this, in this psalm, a generation is 70 years, but could also go all the way up to 80 years if by reason of strength. Okay? Now, is this like an official definition of a generation? I don't know. But let's entertain this idea. For the sake of this video and for the sake of this concept. And there's more that I'm going to show you here, because it would seem that there's like some latter-day revelation that kind of sheds light on this concept. So if we go back here and we click on the footnote for generation, it takes us to Joseph Smith Matthew 1 verses 31 to 35, which as you know, this is basically like it's this whole chapter, but it's basically like one big Joseph Smith translation. So let's read what it says. And again, this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world, for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come. Now, as you're about to see, it turns out, it would seem that this theory is partially, it seems like it's partially correct, but it's not just the nation state of Israel returning, the Jews returning to their land, but it also seems to be connected to the times of the Gentiles. So I'll show you that in just a little bit. Or the destruction of the wicked, and again, the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet be fulfilled, meaning the second time that Jerusalem is destroyed during the siege, during the last war. And immediately after the tribulation of those days, which I think we're probably in right now, the sun shall be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of heaven shall be shaken. Verily I say unto you, this generation, in which these things shall be shown forth, shall not pass away until I have told you shall be fulfilled. So once we see the gospel going out throughout all the world, being taken to all nations, um, let's see, also the destruction of Israel, and then these things happening with the sun, the moon, the stars, that'll be the generation that will see it. Although the days will come that heaven and earth shall pass away, yet my words shall not pass away, but all shall be fulfilled. Okay, let's move on here. Now, in Doctrine and Covenants 45, there's some interesting stuff here. Wherefore, hearken, and I will reason with you, and I will speak unto you and prophesy as unto men in the days of old. This is the Lord speaking. And I will show it plainly as I showed it unto my disciples, as I stood before them in the flesh, and spake unto them, saying, As ye have asked, as ye have asked of me concerning the signs of my coming, in the day when I shall come in my glory in the clouds of heaven, to fulfill the promises that I made unto your fathers. For as ye have looked upon the long absence of your spirits from your bodies to be a bondage, I will show unto you the day of redemption shall come, and also the restoration of the scattered Israel. And now ye behold this temple which is in Jerusalem, which ye call the house of God, and your enemies shall say that this house shall never fall. But verily I say unto you that desolation shall come upon this generation as a thief in the night, and this people shall be destroyed and scattered among all nations. So he's talking about what's immediately about to happen to Jerusalem, right? The abomination of desolation and the temple being destroyed, and how it's going to come suddenly upon them. And this temple which ye now see shall be thrown down, and there shall not be left one stone upon another. And it shall come to pass that this generation of Jews shall not pass away until every desolation which I have told you concerning them shall come to pass. Okay, so he's talking about, that generation is going to see the destruction of Jerusalem back then. So, excuse me. So it seems like there's kind of a parallel, because he's saying it to them back then, and now he's talking about nowadays, using some of the same language. Ye say that ye know that the end of the world cometh. Ye say also that ye know that the heavens and the earth shall pass away. And in this ye say truly, for so it is. But these things which I have told you shall not pass away until all shall be fulfilled. And this I have told you concerning Jerusalem, that is going to be destroyed. And when that day shall come, shall a remnant be scattered among all nations. So in other words, that has to happen first before the second coming. The Jews and Israel is going to be scattered. Of course, the northern kingdom had already been scattered, but now those that were there in the time of Christ, they're going to be scattered. But they shall be gathered again. Now talking about the last days. They shall be gathered again, but they shall remain until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. Okay, so they're going to basically be scattered until this happens, until the times of the Gentiles are fulfilled. Now, it seems to me like he's talking to the Jews, not so much talking about the northern kingdom and the 10 lost tribes, but he said that they're going to be scattered until the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled. Well, back in 1948, they started their nation, and even to this day, people are still going back to Israel because the nation of Israel, they have a law called the Law of Return. If you can prove your um, genealogy and that you're actually Jewish, then you're entitled to immigrate to Jerusalem. I don't know if they help pay for travel costs. I think I read something like that. I'm not sure though. But you're allowed to get immediate citizenship, essentially. So this is still ongoing, but it's been going on since 1948. So, okay, so let's continue. And in that day shall be heard of wars and rumors of wars. So we've had plenty of that. We've had 2 world wars. We've had civil wars. We've had cold wars, which is a big rumor of war. And the whole earth shall be in commotion, and men's hearts shall fail them, which I've done videos about that's essentially fulfilled, according to statements from modern day prophets within the last couple decades. And they shall say that Christ delayeth his coming until the end of the earth. And the love of men shall wax cold, happening, and iniquity shall abound, definitely happening. And when the times of the Gentiles is come in, a light shall break forth among them that sit in darkness, and it shall be the fullness of my gospel. Okay, so that's happened with the restoration, but they receive it not, for they perceive not the light, and they turn their hearts from me because of the precepts of men. And in that generation, now talking about the latter day generation, in that generation shall the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. And there shall be men standing in that generation that shall not pass away until they see an overflowing scourge, for a desolating sickness shall cover the land. Wow. Now, some of you are going to be like, no, COVID's not the sickness. It's going to be way worse. There's going to be a zombie outbreak or something like that. But you guys, I think that COVID in the pandemic, the current pandemic, is a pretty good contender to fulfill this prophecy right here, DNC 45:31. Okay, we're talking about the times of the Gentiles being fulfilled, and then immediately after that, a desolating sickness. Now, do you guys remember the video I did? Let's see, Angel, Moroni, Salt Lake Temple, Trumpet fell. I probably could have done a shorter search. Okay, so you remember this? You remember this right here? This happened March 2020, just as this overflowing sickness that has covered the entire earth happened. In that generation shall the times of the Gentiles, which we've talked about how, I mean, this is a pretty clear image. If this is a message from God, if he's trying to tell us that, you know what, the warning call is over, it's done. You know, the biggest part of taking the gospel to the Gentiles, it's done. This is a pretty good way to depict that, because we all know that an angel blowing a trumpet it's a warning. It's taking the gospel to the world. It's sounding the warning call. We hear about angels in the book of Revelation blowing their trumpets, and it brings about sickness and desolation and so on and so forth. It's designed, or it's supposed to be essentially a tribulation happening and preparing the world, softening hearts, hopefully humbling people so that they still have a chance before the final burning, you know, so that they have a chance to soften their hearts and find the gospel and enter into saving ordinances and covenants with the Lord. Okay, so the angel Moroni, coincidentally, the angel that basically brought about this dispensation by showing Joseph Smith where the Book of Mormon was, and the Book of Mormon being the main tool for the harvest of this dispensation. Pretty fitting that him, on top of our flagship temple in Salt Lake City, would drop his horn symbolically. I'd say, I'm not going to say it for sure, but it seems like the time of the Gentiles might be over. This happened, again, this happened as this happened, a desolating sickness that has covered the land. And it's not over. We're not past it yet. We don't know how long it's going to go. We don't know if it's going to get even worse. All we know is that this has been going on since about, it seems like about March or April of last year. I think it was March when everyone started going for the toilet paper and emptying all the store shelves of all food. Kind of interesting. Kind of interesting. I'd say more than interesting. Okay, so, but my disciples shall stand in holy places, temples, our houses, stakes of Zion, right? And shall not be moved. But among the wicked, men shall lift up their voices and curse God and die. And there shall be earthquakes also in diverse places, many desolations. Yet men will harden their hearts against me, and they will take up the sword one against another, and they shall kill one another. And now when I, the Lord, had spoken these words unto my disciples, they were troubled. And I said unto them, Be not troubled, for when all these things shall come to pass, ye may know that the promises which have been made unto you shall be fulfilled. And when the light shall begin to break forth, it shall be with them like unto you a parable which I shall show you. You look and behold the fig trees, and ye see them with your eyes, and ye say that they begin to shoot forth, and their leaves are yet tender, that summer is now nigh at hand. Even so shall it be in the day when ye shall see all these things, then shall they know that the hour is nigh. What's this footnote here for fig trees? Okay, this just takes us to other scriptures that we're going to go over. Now, fig trees, okay? If we go to the Bible dictionary, let's see what our church's view is on fig trees. I would tend to agree that it represents Israel. So it says here, everywhere common in Palestine, both wild and cultivated, fig trees are an important food. The tree is one of the earliest to show its fruit buds, which appear before the leaves. Thus, a fig tree with leaves would be expected to also have fruit. Jesus cursing the fig tree for its fruitlessness was an allusion to the fruitlessness of Israel. Okay, so in this story here, it represents Israel. The time when the leaves appear indicate that summer is nigh at hand. Okay, now I wanted to read that really quick. Okay, this is found in Matthew 21, verses 17 to 22. And this is talking about Christ, of course. And he left them and went out of the city into Bethany, and he lodged there. Now, in the morning, as he returned into the city, he hungered, and he saw a fig tree in the way. He came to it and found nothing thereon, but leaves only, and said unto it, Let no fruit grow on thee henceforth forever. And presently the fig tree withered away. Now, thankfully, we know why he did that. This was a lesson. He wasn't just mad at a fig tree. And when the disciples saw it, they marveled, saying, How soon is the fig tree withered away? Jesus answered and said unto them, Verily I say unto you, if ye have faith and doubt not, ye shall not only do this which is done to the fig tree, but also if ye shall say unto this mountain, Be thou moved, and be thou cast into the sea, it shall be done. And all things whatsoever ye shall ask in prayer, believing, ye shall receive. So, there's actually more about that story that I wanted to share. So, this comes from the teacher manual for the New Testament. It says, How might the Jewish leadership be like the fig tree? So, almost like specifically, it's not so much maybe Israel as a whole, like maybe, but specifically the leadership, because we know that when Christ came, he was pretty upset at the leadership. Sincere following the Lord requires our behavior to be consistent with the faith we profess. So in other words, you can't be a hypocrite. You can't just like look the part. You can't just like be doing it for um, superficial reasons, again, for like power, for fame, for whatever. If you're preaching the gospel, if you're a leader in the church, um, if you're a shepherd, if you're, you need to actually be that thing, not just look the part. Okay. Um, and then down here it's stressed again. Sincerely following the Lord requires our behavior to be consistent with the faith we profess. So, um, yeah, if we say that we're Latter-day Saints, then we better do it, and not just do it for looks, but like have it come from a genuine place, because we really are inside disciples of Christ. So anyway, that's the story of the fig tree. In that case, um, okay, where are we now? And they shall learn the parable of the fig tree, for even now already summer is nigh. Um, I want to go over to Luke 21, actually. There's something pretty interesting in here. Okay. Okay. And there shall be signs in the sun and in the moon and in the stars, and upon the earth distress of nations, with perplexity, and the sea and the waves roaring. Men's hearts failing them for fear, and for looking after those things which are coming on the earth. For the powers of heaven shall be shaken. And they shall see the Son of Man coming in a cloud, with power and great glory. And when these things begin to come to pass, then look up, and lift your heads, for your redemption draweth nigh. And he spake to them a parable. Behold, the fig tree, and all the trees. When they now shoot forth, ye see and know of your own selves that summer is now nigh at hand. So likewise, when ye see these things come to pass, know ye that the kingdom of God is nigh at hand. Verily I say unto you, this generation shall not pass away till all be fulfilled. Now, there's a footnote for this generation, and it takes you to a Joseph Smith translation. And the Joseph Smith translation says, Verily I say unto you, this generation, the generation when the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled, shall not pass away till all be fulfilled. So here he specifically inserts and he clarifies that the generation is the generation when the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. And I submit to you again, have we seen this now? Has this happened? Is this a sign in 2020 that time is over? And you might say, no, we still have missionaries, and that's true. But missionary work is not the same. Church growth is not the same as it was before the pandemic. And before the pandemic, it had already started to slow down in 2018 and 2019, especially. So I don't know. That's interesting. So according to our modern day revelation, it's the generation that sees the times of the Gentiles fulfilled. Now, there's more to that. I looked this up in the student manual for the New Testament. Until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. Okay. Luke 21:24 is the only place where the phrase times of the Gentiles appears in the Bible. The phrase also appears 3 times in Latter-day Revelation. In all three of those times is in D&C section 45, verses 25, 28, and 30. So only in Luke and only in Doctrine and Covenants. In New Testament times, the gospel was preached first to the Jews, then to the Gentiles. In the latter days, the message of the restored gospel is to go first to the Gentile nations and then to the Jews. The period of time when the Gentiles have precedence in receiving the gospel is called the times of the Gentiles. Okay, so that's when the gospel is being taken to them first. Now check this out. President Joseph Fielding Smith stated, "The times of the Gentiles commenced shortly after the death of our Redeemer." That's when it started. So the whole period of time that we would refer to as the Great Apostasy, and also the last dispensation, those two periods of time together, and what other Christians would call the church age. Um, that is the time of the Gentiles. Now, we don't have official word that it's been completed. As far as anyone knows, it is still going on. Although, we may not find out till later. If it's revealed later that it ended around this time when Angel Moroni dropped his trumpet. But the Jews, okay, so the Jews soon rejected the gospel. Oh, sorry. Shortly after the death. Okay, the Jews soon rejected the gospel, and it was taken to the Gentiles. The times of the Gentiles have continued from that time until now. President Smith spoke further about the fulfillment of the time of the Gentiles. Jesus said that the Jews would be scattered among all nations, and Jerusalem would be trodden down by the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles were fulfilled. So Jerusalem, starting with the Roman Empire destroying it, Jerusalem would be trodden down until the time of the Gentiles were fulfilled. Well, guess what? Jerusalem is back, and it's been built back up, and the Jews have returned to their land. Now, it hasn't been fully restored because it's still missing the temple. There's some that believe that it's a latter-day temple that needs to be built. I personally reject that idea, but I'm not I'm not going to say no completely. I just think that there's a very low chance of that. I think that the Jews will build the third temple, that it will be accepted by the Lord. We know that the Levites, they have the priesthood, so I would think that they would be authorized to create their own temple and have it be consecrated. But anyway, that's a discussion for another time. But the Jews are back now in Jerusalem. So does that mean that the times of the Gentiles are fulfilled? I don't know. Yeah, at the very least, they probably overlap. They came back in 1948, and it's been more than 70 years now. And now this happened. This happened during the space of time between 70 and 80 years, right? The generation of Israel, if that is a thing, and I think it could be. I don't know. I'm taking it with a grain of salt, but between 70 and 80 years since Israel became a nation, this happened. This happened. Okay, let me go back here. Okay, now the prophecy in section 45, verses 24 through 29 of the Doctrine and Covenants gathering regarding the Jews was literally fulfilled. Jerusalem, which was trodden down by the Gentiles, is no longer trodden down, but is made the home for the Jews. They are returning to Palestine, and by this we may know that the times of the Gentiles are near their close. And this was said, Conference 1966. General Conference 1966. Okay. I'm going to end it there. As I was doing the research for this video, I came across this right here. This came up. This is a talk by Elder Bernard P. Brockbank, assistant to the Council of the 12. And this was General Conference, May 1976. And the title of his talk is "The Leaves Are Commencing to Show on the Fig Tree." That was back in 1976. The leaves are commencing to show on the fig tree in 1976. I'll let you read through this if you want to. I'll put it in the description below. So, is there anything to the fig tree generation? Possibly. Maybe not in the way that these guys are theorizing, although I'm not discounting this. But it seems that the fig tree parable has to do with the time of the Gentiles ending and excuse me, and Israel, the Jews returning to the land of Israel in Jerusalem. So that's why I think we're pretty good candidates for being the generation that sees all these things happen, and that will see the second coming. I really do. That's probably why the general authorities think that. Of course, they actually have revelation, and I'm sure the prophet knows better. But I think that this is a pretty strong case. Maybe not so much this right here, the other Christian churches fig tree generation definition, but what we just read about the time of the Gentiles being fulfilled. So I'll leave it there. Like I said, make sure to share this with anyone that you've heard talk about this. They may not know kind of like the church's stance on that, and the way that we interpret these scriptures. Because again, if they're going off of other Christian churches' interpretation, they don't have Joseph Smith translation. They don't have Joseph Smith Matthew 1. They don't have that, but we do. So make sure to share it. If you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe, like this video if you liked it, hit the notification bell, leave your comments so I can know what you think about all this, and I'll talk to you guys later.